It's a new year, and like every new year before it, here at CIG, January is a time of planning, of summits, of getting together and looking back at how the plans and activities of last year went to revise and inform the direction and processes of the one ahead. And to do so, all while still working diligently on Alpha 3.18, Star Citizen's biggest patch since 2017. One that will serve as future foundation for the persistent universe's development going forward. And to say it's a busy time in the studios at this moment would be an understatement. But it's also an opportunity for ISC to stretch its legs a bit like we always do, maybe try a few new things here and there to take advantage of the first real big series of internal gatherings we've been able to have since the pandemic began, and continue to look at as many aspects of video game development as we can, while always doing our best to not get in the way of that very same development. And I'm sure the editors will tell me that was my longest single run-on sentence in ISC history. So this quarter, we can look forward to seeing a few teams that we haven't seen in a while, meet some that are newly formed for the needs of this new year, continue to look farther forward than usual with our Journey to 4.0 specials, and of course, continue to look at work currently in progress for the next quarterly release, which is where we're going to start this week. Now, while Alpha 3.18 is still working its way through PTU, let's jump ahead to a little of what's on its way for Alpha 3.19 after that, where during a recent Environment Team Summit here in the UK, we asked visiting members from our Montreal studio to discuss the next evolution of crashed derelicts making their way into the persistent universe, including new variations to existing favorites in multiple stages of decay, and the addition of modular habitation units that will soon allow for the continued creation of new mission locations from the tiniest of barracks to the most impressive of shantytowns.
Derelicts are important because it's adding content, enriching the experience for the player. It's like telling a story as well as the actual piece of a derelict that's there.
The derelicts who are in the game right now are super nice. I'm super happy about them. We have really nice shapes. We can really feel the scale. When we walk, we can see how big they are.
They're impressive from a distance. The rustic feel, the abandonedness, these big, enormous, impressive shapes and silhouettes that you get to explore.
Having all the vegetation growing up on them bring really a second life, and it's super interesting to see that bring kind of adventure side of all those things, a mysterious side.
Indiana Jones kind of style, this exploring, discovering. There's a variety for players like to experience, to go back, revisit, and yeah, enjoy the derelict.
I think we can improve the speed to create those because they are really big location. We need to have a lot of artists working on those because it's really a huge amount of work to work on those ones, and we want to create 100 of them everywhere on different planets and moons.
Adding more of the because we have like OCs, so like dressing them up immediately instead of hand placing all the rocks, the foliage, and all the like visual elements separately by hand. We should make actually like nicer modules that are already like pre-assembled and like most of the stuff is already contained in it. So that way we can like deploy it, spend a bit more time on detailing, just an extra pass, an extra level of depth to the art.
What I like the most on the new ship we did, we create a deeper story about those crash sites. With the Star Runner crashing on the planet and having the 600i just crashing on the mountain just by, we can just think about maybe they got a fight on the sky and they get hit and the boat get crashed just by themselves.
The 600i crash site is awesome looking.
Add different variations of age to our ships.
I'm excited to see
so
what else
like
they can come up with.
Freshly crashed ships, the older ones that the planet overgrown over, and we have the very derelicts as like just a skeleton of the ship that's remaining. Really just the frame of the actual ship that's just abandoned and rusted out.
The first ages of the derelict crash site is the fire one. That's mean it's when the ship just crashed, it's still on fire. We still have power in it. We still have sparks. The second age is crash. So that's mean the ship is crashed there, but maybe just a week after that. So no fire, no smoke anymore, no power inside the ship, no sparks. The third age is the biome. It's overgrown. It's when the biome just take its place back. We're going to have more sand on it.
I really
more
hope that
dirt,
player ships will go through these whole
leaves
processes as
and,
well, you know,
vine growing
because
up on
that
it.
would be awesome to see
fourth
a
version
huge battle that had taken
the
place in
paint's been worn
atmosphere
off.
and just
It's been in
seeing
the sun for
the remnants of it
an
in
extended
time
period
that
of
has
time.
passed.
It's
Yes, it
scratched
is.
up.
It is
It's a lot
definitely
of rust.
needed
It's been
evolution.
overgrown. It's been scavenged. People have visited the ship, and it's missing pieces, panels. So a lot of wires are hanging. It's been used. It's been harvested basically. And I'm really excited about the derelict habs that we'll be adding to them.
Can't wait for these settlements to start
We're
coming
looking
in
at
more.
a library of habs to create these little settlements.
We create those library because we want to reuse all those habs on different ship and create different stories and depth about why that ship is there and who is going to live around.
We have like interiors. We have some that is just for like sheltering from the sun, from the harsh conditions of the planet. We have some that's just for like for
I
sleeping.
believe this is the same
There's
area
some
where
that
they
have, like,
showcased
little bars,
that
little setups inside. People can
one
eat,
mission
can
type
meet
that
up.
had like
Some
a
other ones are
bloodied
just for like
hospital room,
electricity
like a
generation.
smoke
We have
clinic
solar
room.
panels on some of them.
When people find those ships, they kind of salvage them, so they took part and kind of create some kind of habitation because they want to live around those crash sites to be able to protect themselves for the weather.
These little mini camps, basically, that people can go and explore. These can be added to the new derelicts, but also to the old ones as well. We made them pretty flexible in terms of look because we can change up the wear and tear on these things, so we can add different ages to them. We can make them look extra rusty, or we can look like pretty much brand new, like they just scavenged the ship and made these little huts out of the panels and stuff. The purpose is to have a multi-use, multi-ages, different environments that they can suit into
that concept art
either
looks
snow,
awesome.
sand environments, different weather into the jungle. Like it's a multi-purpose habs library that, yeah, it just can increase our speed and everything.
So the idea was to finish our library in the last years. So now with the next mandate, with the next derelict crash, we'll be able to create all those shantytown everywhere on different planets. So that will bring more gameplay and more opportunity to the player to just go around and visit them.
Yeah, I noticed that as well. It seems like there's a good 2-minute delay for some reason. I'll have to look into that and see why that's going on.
And if
On my
there's one
actual
constant in
chat
game development,
feature,
that's
I
change.
can see it immediately,
or in this case,
but it shows
the
up later.
continuing iteration by a dedicated team to populate the planets and moons of Stanton and Pyro with not only the derelicts and shantytowns that we saw, but our landing zones like Lorevile. Now, we first spoke of the upcoming changes to Loreville in a Journey to 4.0 segment at CitizenCon 2952. But while we had the folks in town, we thought it'd be worth checking in on the team's progress while they were here. Progress that's, quite frankly, going so well, we're starting to think this new version of our oldest landing zone might just arrive a little sooner than expected.
Really?
Since the last time we talked about Loreville 2.0, a lot of things have changed. It has evolved. The key element that changed is the detail level of all the elements, and I explicitly like to mention the buildings. So there's details that really enhances the building believability. All the industrial outskirts really give the impression of a scale of the city. It will be iconic.
Yes, it will. That's awesome. I'm excited already just seeing that.
Our materials are much more closer to a final look. We were going to a path of adding more tints and variety in color to the buildings and the surrounding structures, as well adding a lot of emissives throughout the city, and that gives like a good impression of the day and the night cycle. The branding is very Hurston family centric, like they're very brutalist in a way. and yeah, it will be iconic. The process of going from first pass into final, sometimes we have to break a bit of stuff because as we're finding out the
That's
correct
awesome.
scale of buildings, validate how it looks and how it works together, we realize certain things need to be aligned differently. You have to go into and remove some buildings or rearrange some neighborhoods to make it then fit together in a more cohesive way. There's things beyond like the new buildings. There's new pathways, there's the trenches, there's some tunnels as well, going into like those pyramid shapes that comes from Eric's concept, and we've added tunnels to those. There's cranes, and they create an opportunity to fly under them, flowing from the outside of the city to the inside, and pipelines. Awesome. And there's a way of finding your way into Lorevile with all these things that we've added, and it has like a really fun structure, easy ways to find where you're at. We're adding more landing pads, especially on the building rooftops. They create opportunities for gameplay, for pickup missions, and for the future of building interiors as well, or just simple mission types of stuff to do on the rooftops. The city is quite expanded, so it's extending much further in terms of like the industrial areas that we're adding to the outreach of the city, the outskirts. They feel like they have a purpose.
The new textures look
quarries,
awesome. They really
have
do.
Like the pipelines, they have like industry or manufacturing. They lead up to the city. It feels functional. There's like smokestacks, activity going on with cranes, and it makes like a fun layout. We've experimented with moving L19 or the CBD or the spaceport
really does make
relationship to each other.
In
the end,
Loreville we have now
only moved like the spaceport slightly, like a few hundred meters. That's not a lot in the whole scale of the city. What you'll see from the vistas from those places is going to be really a big positive change, I think, and it's still something we're tweaking and working on because we really want to make those work like key shots basically for those vistas. Travel through the city is not changing other than the fact that the transit to the gates will be a bit extended, but the view from the transit will be a lot different in a good way, less repeated. You feel more like you're in a real city, and we'll take like a special care along like the path of the train.
That's sick. I can't wait to get that in our hands.
The key to changing Loreville is the opportunity to have like a whole city built to scale, so that we can fly in and there's no zones that are blocked to the player.
No
different viewpoints around the city where we can land, and it's preparing also the ground for the future updates like the building interiors, because the original buildings in Loreville were much too small to have buildings and building interiors in the future.
Absolutely.
And you're going to hear more about the building interiors in a few weeks.
Sweet. Can't wait. That's going to be so much fun. Actually having missions and places to go and things to do within cities.
So, what did we learn this week? Well, we learned that the crash derelict system is continuing to evolve as more and more locations are added to the standard system in the upcoming Alpha 3.19. That progress on the new Loreville isn't just looking great and coming along fast, it's also in preparation for its own next evolution that includes building interiors, which, as Maxime said, we'll be discussing in just a couple weeks. And overall, this week is a reminder that iteration is at the heart of any game's development, and that while the new and shiny will always get the most attention, it's just as important to continue maturing what's come before to ensure the better after. And as for the right now and Alpha 3.18, well, that's still going through its paces on our public test universe. But you should keep an eye on the RobertSpaceIndustries.com website and socials for when this huge mammer jammer of a patch takes its next big step. And while we're all waiting, stop leaving all those crashed spaceships littered around all the new racetracks. We didn't add persistence just to let you all make messes. Well, some of us might have. Benoit definitely did. Now, don't forget that Lunar New Year is also going on right now on the live servers with contests, paints, envelopes, and roosters galore. So be sure you check that out. For Inside Star Citizen, I'm Jared.
It is quite an odd time delay. Sometimes it works immediately, other times it does. It seems to lag for a little bit. Yeah. All right. Well, let me switch back over to host view. I gotta say, rather impressed with this year's very first Inside Star Citizen. It was a lot of fun to watch. Noticed we had a little bit of a hiccup with the microphone at the start of the stream. I apologize about that. Still getting used to this new streaming software, but I felt we had a good time. Felt it was a good watch. With that being said, we're gonna drop off here, save our discussions for our next stream coming up here in the next 15 to 30 minutes, maybe a little bit later than originally planned. But with that being said, thank you so much everyone who came to watch. If you could please give the video a like, it would help us out a lot. And if you haven't already, please subscribe. We're looking to grow the channel. As you can see down at the bottom of the screen, we got 20 subscribers currently, and we're looking to get that up to 100 by the end of the year. It would mean a lot to me if you could do that. Thank you for joining Fleet Ready Gaming, and we'll have our next stream up here shortly. Have a wonderful day. Peace.